It's Tuesday, March 7th, 2017. I'm your host, Sarah Mantle. We have a great show in store for you today. We're going to get a chance to chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald. Also, it's Weights and Measures Week. We're going to take you inside the town's Weights and Measures division. And we'll chat with DPW Director Dan Santos, all on this episode of Barnstable Today. But first, let's go ahead and get a look at today's top headlines. Well, Barnstable High School students returned to school today. The school was closed yesterday. That was due to a boiler issue. The boilers are back up and running, and school is open for the day. Barnstable County Sheriff Jim Cummings is warning residents about a new phone scam. The scammers are calling residents and claiming to be a captain with the sheriff's office. The scammer goes on to tell the resident that they are being sought on an arrest warrant, and to clear it up, they need to pay $2,000. The scammer, in one instance, and even encouraged the resident to put that money on a prepaid credit card. The sheriff's office is reminding residents that they do not solicit money for court matters. If you receive a call like this one described, hang up the phone and report it to the Barnstable County Sheriff's Office. The Town Council Charter Review Committee will discuss new language regarding elections and term limits this week. The Charter Review Committee will start off the meeting with public comment and allow time for responses to any public comment. The Charter Review Committee meets at 6 tonight in the Selectmen's Conference Room. The licensing authority opts not to hear 2 requests for seasonal liquor licenses. The Foodport International Market in Hyannis and the Katuitt Fresh Market both made requests for seasonal licenses, but because the licensing authority has yet to vote on Barnstable's seasonal population, the requests will be on hold. Up next, we're going to chat with Police Chief Paul McDonald. And joining us now live over the phone, we have Deputy Chief Matthew Sonnabend. So glad to have you again this week. What a surprise.
Yeah, you're going to have to suffer with me one more day, I guess. Huh?
We'll take it. We'll take it. We really appreciate that you called us this morning. Can't wait to hear about some things you guys are working on at the Barnstable Police Department. First of all, you're going to start a directed patrol initiative, and this is called DDAX. What can you tell me about this?
Yep, it's a directed patrol, and by means of a directed patrol, what it is, it's instead of just letting the officers go out and just kind of drive around and do whatever they want to do at a certain time, we have certain things we establish for them at certain times to do different things, and it kind of provides some framework around a specific thing we're trying to do. So it's, instead of being like free time, it's directed patrol. So they have certain things they have to do during that activity, and directed patrols can take many forms, like bike patrols, foot patrols, and things like that. But this one is like a traffic safety oriented type of patrol. And a couple months ago, a group of us went to a training seminar, and they discussed this approach. And what it really is high visibility traffic enforcement and education for the public in a sector or portion of your town where you find that through data analysis that traffic accidents and other incidental crimes kind of overlap. So by establishing an area around that so-called zone and having police officers increase their presence there and increase their traffic activity, enforcing, traffic laws as far as, running red lights, stop signs, speeding, and that kind of thing. It increases their public interaction and therefore kind of deters the other crime that goes along with it, not only increasing traffic safety, but also bringing up the quality of life and driving down the crime rates. It's worked in other communities, places like Greenville, Burlington, Mass. has done it. It's been done around the country. Everett, Mass. Everett does a patrol like this. So we talked about it. We decided to take a look at some of our own traffic stats and crime stats, and we found that right around the area of Route 132, Burses Way, and Route 28 down to the airport rotary, that kind of triangle around the mall and the commercial districts down there, it's kind of a no-brainer. There's a lot of people down there driving around. We get increased traffic accidents, and over the past few months, you'd also notice there'd been some pedestrian accidents in that area. And we were kind of thinking about different ways to work on that, and this program kind of just fell into our laps, and we were deciding to give it a try.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be really effective, too. I think just seeing that patrol car does make people slow down, think about what they're doing, and take it a little easier. And we know speed can be a huge reason people get into accidents. So if everyone just kind of slows down a little bit, takes their time, do you think when you talk about lowering other incidents in crime, like say robberies or breaking and entering in a vehicle, do we see a decrease in these things happening as well when we have this directed patrol like that?
Yeah, you do. You do see some spillover because, like anything else, if there's a police officer in the area, it deters other crimes. Criminals, just like anybody else, they seek the softest target. They seek the easiest path to take, and if it's going to be more difficult, they move on or find different things. But the other part of it is that if the officers are out there having more contact with people and stopping more cars, not to say that we're going to write more tickets, but that we're going to interact with more people, remind them, hey, you got to slow down, you got to put on your seatbelt, you got to do this, you got to do that. So it doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get a ticket per se, but we are going to talk to you about these different things. And in the course of that, we are going to run across those people who are out there not just speeding, but are out there for other nefarious purposes, to like commit robberies or shoplifting or even just nuisance type crimes that you really don't want to have in your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep an eye on things.
Exactly.
Looking at you used statistics as you were locating the area you wanted to include in this direct patrol. Do you think you guys are going to take a look at crime statistics as well as traffic accident statistics a little bit down the road after this has been enacted a little bit and try and compare and contrast and see if it's really being effective?
Yep. Well, that would be part of it. First of all, you sit down, you take a look and see, okay, what is what's going on there to begin with. And then, as time goes by, it takes a little while. It's not like we can just start it today and then tomorrow there's going to be a huge difference. But over a course of time, we figure maybe a month or two, that you start compiling new data and comparing it to the old to see what's going on. And it may or may not work. We may require some tweaking or some modifications depending on the area and the time of year because, unlike a lot of other cities and towns, we have a huge seasonal influx, and we have to take that into account as well,
That's so true. Yeah, that could really distort your numbers a little bit there.
It really could, but regardless of the time of year, that Route 132, 28, and Burses Way is a heavily traveled area, and whether or not it really has an effect on the overall crime rates, we're optimistic that it will, but we really need to do something and just keep people mindful that there's a high volume of traffic there. People need to drive more effectively and safely, and put down the cell phone and pay attention to what you're doing, because that would, even if we prevented one pedestrian accident over that course of time, it would be worth the effort.
That's right. Well, thank you so much, Deputy Chief, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it, and look forward to chatting with you again in the near future.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Sounds great. Talk to you soon.
Have a great day.
All right, you too. Bye-bye. Our guest today, Deputy Chief Matthew Sonnabend. Well, it's Weights and Measures Week. We're going to give you an inside look at the town of Barnstable's Weights and Measures Division in this special segment. Equity in the marketplace is a cornerstone of a healthy economy. Consumers purchase items with the assurance that the weighing or measuring device in use is accurate and correct. Merchants rely on standards to promote a level playing field among competitors. Fairness in the marketplace dates to the founding of our nation on March 2, 1799. John Adams signed the country's first weights and measures law. On any given day, every American makes dozens of purchase decisions at the grocery store, the gas pump, to pay for a taxi fare, or purchase home heating oil. As diverse as the character of daily necessities are, they share a common ingredient. Consumers can trust that they are getting what they pay for with an active weights and measures program. Scales in use at commercial retail outlets are required by Massachusetts state law to be inspected and tested annually by a weights and measures official. Inspectors find a variety of scales in the marketplace, varying in size, shape, application, and use. A majority of scales in the Barnstable jurisdiction are 30-pound capacity scales, most commonly found in supermarkets, grocery stores, delis, convenience stores, and other small food markets. The inspector places certified weight on the scale, verifying that it tests accurately. A sticker indicating the scale has been tested and certified for the year is applied only if the scale is found to have accurate test results. The town of Barnstable's Transfer and Recycling Center owns and operates a large capacity scale. Vehicles are driven onto the scale to weigh construction debris, building trash, manure, bulky items, and household waste. Large capacity scales are also found at septage treatment facilities, aggregate plants, and landscaping material businesses. Most everyday items for sale in the marketplace have a Universal Product Code, or UPC. It's a series of numbers and vertical bars that is shorthand for product information. When a cashier passes a UPC symbol over an electronic scanner, a computer identifies the symbol and sends a pre-programmed price to the checkout register. That price then appears on the display screen. Scanner technology has several advantages. It speeds up checkout time, lowers labor costs, and improves sales and inventory records. Studies show that scanning errors can result in both overcharges and undercharges. Savvy consumers are those who are aware of prices and who routinely watch and check the scanner charges for the items they buy. In Massachusetts, price verification inspections can be conducted at any retail store that uses an automated retail checkout system to determine the charged price. The purpose of the procedure is to ensure that consumers are charged the correct price for the items they purchase. The price which an item is offered for sale must agree with the price that is charged at the checkout counter. Promising one price and charging a higher price is against the law. Taxis use a meter to determine the fare for its passengers. A taxi meter is not only measuring distance, but increases for time. The taxi meter advances the fare for wait time as well. Taxis use a meter to determine the fare for its passengers. A taxi meter is not only measuring distance, but increases for time. The taxi meter advances the fare for wait time as well. Both methods of charging fares are tested at the town's taxi course on Service Road. The measured course is comprised of 6 sets of yellow markers where the taxi meter may drop or increase the fare. After the taxi meter passes the distance traveled test, the time measuring feature is tested. If the meter passes both distance and time tests, the inspector seals the meter. Weekly large percentages of consumer budgets go toward the purchase of grocery products and commodities. These are the necessities of daily living: breads, cereals, meats, dairy, frozen foods, paper products, cleaning supplies, and other staples. The variety of markets available ranges from the superstore to the corner variety store. To ensure consumers have accurate and uniform pricing information, Massachusetts item pricing law requires that every item be priced in a clear and conspicuous manner. In 2012, the item pricing law was revised to allow stores to apply for a waiver from item pricing and use in aisle price scanners. Stores that don't seek a waiver must continue to use the item price system, which requires that all items be individually priced. During the winter months, oil is used to heat many homes in Massachusetts. When a consumer is low on oil, they call their oil service provider and a truck is sent out to fill up the oil tank. An oil truck driver pumps product through a metering device called a vehicle tank meter. The fuel delivery starts with the driver inserting a delivery ticket into the vehicle tank meter. Fuel is then pumped through the meter, and the gallon delivered is registered on its indicator. At the completion of the delivery, the driver removes the ticket to be left at the location. The delivery ticket is mechanically printed in the vehicle tank meter with the name and address of the buyer and seller, the delivery date, type of fuel, and price per gallon, unless other arrangements have been made. Vehicle tank meters on fuel trucks are found not only making deliveries to our homes, but are also used to refuel jets and airplanes, motor vessels, large off-road equipment like front-end loaders and bulldozers, and large supply quantities of heating oil to schools and commercial properties. Retail motor fuel meters require annual inspection by weights and measures officials. Upon arriving on location, the person in charge is notified of the inspection and procedures. Before any fuel product is dispensed, the inspector takes several necessary safety precautions. The hose and nozzle are inspected to ensure they are in proper working condition. The inspector checks security seals and the mechanical components for damage or tampering. To test the gas meter, the nozzle is removed from its hanger and the pump is activated. The gas pump indicator must reset to 0 upon activation. The inspector dispenses fuel into a test measure. A test measure is a precision measuring device. The inspector turns the pump off by hanging up the nozzle and ensures the indicator figures remain constant. The inspector takes a reading from the test measure's sight glass and notes it on the inspection report. The inspector verifies computation accuracy in total cost by multiplying the total gallons by the price per gallon. The fuel is returned to the station's holding tank. Here, the weights and measures official approves the device for use in commercial transactions. Weights and measures inspections require specialized equipment. The town owns a measurement assurance compliance test truck you might have noticed around town. The town of Barnstable acquired the truck in the fall of 1987. In 2002, the truck underwent an overhaul that removed the original Ford F-350 chassis and replaced it with a Chevrolet 3500. The custom-built body consists of several components that test the accuracy of petroleum measuring devices, mainly gas meters and oil truck meters. On the rear of the truck, a lockable hood houses 6 stainless steel volumetric provers, 3 2-gallon and 3 10-gallon. They are attached to 3 100-gallon holding tanks. Mounted in the middle of the truck are the town's 2 larger provers. There is a 25-gallon prover and a 200-gallon prover. Consumers seldom question the quantity statement on a package, the indicator on a scale, or the gallons of fuel they put into their cars. Weights and measures inspections serve both the purchasing public and members of the commercial community who sell to the public by assuring equity in the marketplace, discouraging unfair competition, and promoting consumer confidence. If you have any questions or concerns regarding the performance of a commercial weighing or measuring device used for trade, bring it to the attention of the merchant. If the problem is not resolved, contact the local Weights and Measures office for advice and/or assistance. The Barnstable Weights and Measures jurisdiction includes Barnstable, Bourne, Brewster, Chatham, Dennis, Harwich, Mashpee, Orleans, Sandwich, and Yarmouth. In 2016, Barnstable Weights and Measures inspected 1,362 scales. During the year, net weight compliance inspections resulted in over $109,379 in savings to consumers and merchants. In 2016, 1,556 motor fuel meters were tested. Of the total, 66 meters needed a calibration adjustment. The adjustments resulted in over $287,395 in savings to consumers and merchants. In 2016, 98 taxi meters were inspected and sealed. In 2016, Barnstable Weights and Measures inspected 123 tank meters, resulting in a savings of $3,117. 198 price verification inspections in 2016 saved consumers more than $192,197. 769 item price violations in 2016 saved consumers more than $240,000. In 2016, the solid waste scale weighed 4,283 loads, which in pounds weighs over 6.9 million pounds. A 1% error would result in 69,000 pounds in incorrect charges. In 2016, consumers and merchants received $834,026 in savings from Barnstable Weights and Measures inspections. The department conducted a total of 3,784 device inspections in the 10 towns served by Barnstable Weights and Measures. Joining me now live on the phone is DPW Director Dan Santos. Dan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Very excited to talk to you about something we haven't talked about in a little while. The shooting range in West Barnstable has actually been a big topic of conversation for quite a while. Haven't talked to you about it for a little bit. Can you give me an update on what's happening with the shooting range?
Well, the work we're doing right now is mostly investigative work into the situation with the presence of lead. And a year ago, we put monitoring wells in just to check to make sure there wasn't lead in the groundwater. And that was in the November of 2015, and the water showed there was no lead. And we decided we'd sample those annually. So we did it in December, and it turns out that we did find a little bit of lead in the groundwater there. So what we're doing is launching an investigation right now to understand, where that lead is, where it may have come from, and there are other possibilities than it came from the shooting range, and that's what we're going to investigate. We understand that because just across Route 6, in the down gradient, or the way the water flows underground towards the north, that there are homes on private wells. And what we're going to do is make available at the county lab for folks to have their private well water sampled to make sure that there isn't any lead in there from the groundwater, from their water source. Now, it gets a little complicated because in many older homes where they used to use lead in the solder and different fixtures, you can get lead in homes just from those fixtures themselves. And so we have to figure out if there is lead and try to separate out, was it from the home or was it from the groundwater? And but it's best to know right now, and that's why we want to make this sampling available to anyone who might be concerned. The lead concentrations don't exceed any standard right now, so they're below any of the state and federal standards. However, we think it's important that we figure out where it came from and make sure there aren't higher concentrations in the area, and that if there are any receptors, that they be protected from the lead in the groundwater if it is there.
Now, Dan, will you be sending, say, letters to individuals that may have private wells in the area, or how will they?
Yeah, we're going to do things like this show, and we're going to send letters out, and we're going to a certain neighborhood, and we have to identify which streets, and we're in the process of doing that right now. And then we'll let people know how they can contact the county, and the county's willing to come out and actually take the sample for them. So in the next week or so, we'll be getting all the details out on that. But again, I just want to make sure that you know, and your viewers know, that it doesn't exceed any standard right now that would require any cleanup. We're just being overly cautious to identify the source and try to understand it, and that to put people's minds at ease, to make this sampling available at no cost to them.
Wow, that is so great, and I think taking every precaution is better than ignoring the situation. So while it is safe to drink, it does not violate any EPA standards.
Right.
Best to just go ahead and be safe and check. It seems like a very complicated process to try and track down what is the cause of that lead in the water. How long would that take to figure out?
Well, right now I'm writing a contract to have some new wells installed in different areas to try to understand this better. And that's from weeks to months to get all that information available. But as you mentioned, it is very complicated because we're basically trying to understand something we can't see. And the way you do that is by groundwater samples, and so you have to be very thoughtful in how and where you install groundwater wells so that it's telling the story. And this is really the only way you can find out what's going on. So it's like a big black box, and we're trying to see inside.
Right. Yeah. Important stuff. Well, Dan, I'm sure this will be a topic of conversation for us again, but thank you so much for giving us the information. We really appreciate it, and we'll make sure we try and get that out to viewers.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk to you soon, Dan.
Okay,
really appreciate
sounds
it.
great.
All right,
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. My guest today, DPW Director Dan Santos. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with another great show for you. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mann.